Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the most hated woman in the world, part 4. Now after the phone call to 911, the police was actually sent over to the home of George and Cindy Anthony. And when the police arrived, they would ask Casey who had her daughter. And she would tell them that the woman's name was Zernaida Fernandez Gonzalez, but everyone called her Zanny for short and was the nanny to Kaylee. The police would then ask where she had found Zernaida, and Casey would tell them that an IT tech at her job at Universal was using the same woman as a nanny, and that is where she actually met her. The police would then ask to describe her, and to quote Casey, she would tell them that Zernaida was a young woman, half Puerto Rican, half black, very thin, very model-esque figure, long black hair, and would refer to her as a 10, which her family and the police thought was very, very strange, because why would you refer to the abductor of your child as a 10? The police would then ask Casey to take them to the residence, and when she took them to the residence, she pointed out to one of the rooms at where quote-unquote Zernaida had lived at. The police walked up to the room and they could tell that no one had actually been in this apartment for quite some time. They began knocking on the windows, the doors, to no avail. The police would then go into the front desk and talk to the person who ran the business, and would ask, when was the last time someone lived at this very apartment? And to their surprise, they would tell the police that no one had actually lived in this apartment since March. They would then ask if there was any video footage or surveillance footage for them to look at, and they gathered all that information. And upon looking at it, they realized that not only had no one been in this apartment, but no one was going anywhere near it. There was no sign of Casey, there was no sign of a person resembling Zernaida, and it definitely was no sign of Kaylee. At this point, the police began to put all their suspicions up on Casey, and they went and made a phone call to Universal. And surprisingly, Universal had informed them that they did not have an employee by the name of Casey Anthony. In fact, they went through all their documents and realized that the last time Casey Anthony had actually worked at Universal was 3 years ago, back when she had first gotten pregnant with Kaylee, and she never returned after her maternity leave. But the police never told Casey that they had their suspicions up and they knew that she was lying. But they did something a lot more interesting. They had actually called up Casey and had asked her to take them to the place that she worked at so they could talk to the supervisor and kind of get more information on Zernaida. So she took them to this office, and she went past the security guard and went into where all these cubicle rooms were, and was just kind of zigzagging through these rooms. Eventually, after walking for a while, she just turned around and looked at the police and said, "I don't work here." So the police would arrest Casey Anthony for neglect of a child, obstruction of justice, and leading false information. And when they went and arrested Casey, they also went to the residence of George and Cindy Anthony and had asked them if they could bring one of those police dogs and investigate the car.